Published, 4:33 Eastern Daylight Saving Time, the 17th of May 2018. Updated, 4:33 Eastern Daylight Saving Time, the 17th of May 2018. Manchester City, the Centurions. But Martin, how do you expect Liverpool to make up a 25-point gap next season when City will also strengthen? Liverpool have typically lost points in the easier games in the last few years. They must address that. And they need to win 9 more games next season. Big ask. Crossie, Manchester. Don't get your hopes up, everybody. It's not all like this. There's one of those big club *****ing contests coming, you know the kind. My club's better than your club, where's your double, treble, 5 European Cups, unbeaten season, and some people still appear to have John Joe Shelby confused with Xavi, but Crossie, this is an intelligent question and deserves a logical reply. I agree, 25 points is huge. But Liverpool will feel they have the beating of Manchester City, home and away, after this season. So take 3 points from City's 100 and add them to Liverpool's 75. Now we are playing 97 against 78. Still big, still 19 points to find. So here it goes. Is it feasible that home draws against Burnley, Everton, West Brom and Stoke, or their promoted equivalents, could be turned into wins? If the answer is yes, that's another 8 points. Is it also possible that away draws at Watford, Newcastle and West Brom could be improved upon? If yes, we've found 6 more. And Liverpool lost at Swansea, too. Let's replace them with Cardiff. Might Liverpool win in Cardiff? If yes, add 3. Now that's 17 points and we need 19. Meaning, Liverpool will have to take more than the 2 points they got this season from matches with Manchester United and Tottenham. Might they win one of those 4 games? If they are going to be title contenders, the answer has to be yes again, and we're at 19. And, of course, it sounds so easy on paper. The reality of turning 7 draws and 3 defeats into victories, including Manchester City away, is considerably harder. Yet it is not illogical, not impossible. Liverpool are improving. They are a better team now than at the start of the season. Jurgen Klopp will not expect these slip-ups against inferiors. He will demand greater consistency, and may get it with a full season of Virgil van Dijk, and the addition of Naby Keita, and perhaps others. So I'm not saying it is straightforward, or even that it will happen, just that I expect more of a challenge, at least, from Liverpool next season, and the results they need to make it happen are not unimaginable. And from Crossie in Manchester to crossing the dance floor. 5 points up next. Point 1, Darren Moore, a return to Conspiracy Island. Not racism? That's a lie on you know it. There are question marks over him getting the job and I don't know why. West Brom overlooked him for Alan Pardew, whose win percentage was 6%. Apart from race, why are there questions? Ahija Selassie, Birmingham. Experience is the main one, as you must surely acknowledge. Moore has only had 6 matches in charge of West Brom's first team. That means he also hasn't had the experience of stripping down a team in the summer and rebuilding it. He hasn't managed matches in the championship, hasn't managed a championship-level squad, hasn't taken a senior team through pre-season, bought and sold, worked under the pressure of expectation, because West Brom will expect to come up, while Moore took the job this season when it was expected they would go down, or been the bad guy around the players, rather than the caretaker coming in at the end and lifting the mood when all was seemingly lost. Now, for all this, I think he should get the job. He deserves the chance to show he can make this step, given the way he handled his brief time in charge at the end of the season. and Moore seems an intelligent manager. I am sure he could do it. But I do understand why there will be voices inside the club who would prefer a manager with more experience in a frontline role, and I think it is foolish to consider racism the sole explanation if he is overlooked. I think there are a number of reasons not to give Moore the job. I don't happen to agree with them, but that does not mean they don't exist. By the way, Pardew's win percentage was 14.3% at West Brom, and 40.2% at his previous club Crystal Palace. Neither figure is great, but I don't know where your 6% comes from. Darren Moore lost to Crystal Palace last weekend. It was his only defeat in 6 games, so the owners won't want a face they can market in the Far East then. Mr. Bumble, London. Interesting one. This depends what you mean by face. If you are saying Moore's face won't fit in the Far East market because he is black, that is a novel approach to racism. Calling it out by as good as branding an entire continent racist. Is Moore's face a problem in the Asian market? As of January this year, there were 27 players in the Chinese Super League from Nigeria alone. Equally, Michael Jordan's first visit to China bordered on a religious experience. People were fainting and crying. There were reports of seizures. He was known as Kong Zhang Fei Ren, which translates as mid-air flying man, or as we would say, trapeze artist. So I don't think West Brom would refuse Moore the job for fear of a backlash in the East. If you mean he is not famous enough to promote West Brom's brand in Asia, that is different. The decision to replace Gary Rowett with Gianfranco Zola at Birmingham was driven by comparative profiles. I would say, however, that after his recent run, Moore's fame is probably greater than Dean Smith or Michael Appleton, the two names most commonly touted as West Brom's managerial contenders. You didn't address the overarching themes. Jimmy Floyd, Hasselbank, Paul Ince and John Barnes have not been given the repeated opportunities of others. Steve Bruce, Darren Ferguson, Pardew have a track record of failure but also of repeated opportunities at bigger top-flight clubs. Are they better? Statistics show not. There's a clear hierarchy of selection with chairman, an unwritten, unspoken code that is evident in practice. Foreign managers, British managers, relegation specialists, black ethnic managers. Nase Bonsu, London. Overarching themes? What? Your poorly researched, half-baked list of names. Hasselbank had 4 jobs in 5 years. He had a 27.7% win rate at Queen's Park Rangers, yet still landed a position at Northampton and was in place until getting the sack last month. Paul Ince had 6 jobs across 8 years. His success in League Two with MK Dons gave him a crack at a big club, Blackburn, where he struggled, but he got 3 jobs after that, still. John Barnes received the biggest break of any of the names you mention, black or white, because he landed Celtic as a first job. Unfortunately, he did poorly, but that didn't stop him getting another chance at Tranmere where he won 3 games in 12. So every coach you mention was given repeated opportunities. Pardew has had 7 jobs, one more than Ince, but over 20 years. In that time, he has reached 2 FA Cup finals, won promotion twice and was LMA Manager of the Year for 2011-12. Bruce has also been going 20 years, across 9 jobs, but has done reasonably well in just about all of them, including 4 promotions and an FA Cup final appearance. Now he has got Aston Villa into the playoff final. And Ferguson has coached Peterborough, Preston and Doncaster across 11 years, so I don't see where repeated opportunities at bigger top-flight clubs are coming from. The facts do not back up the emotion of your argument. It's the modern way. You keep defending English football against racism and fighting change at every turn, Martin, but how is it that 35 to 40% of players are black but only 2% of managers? It's the old brawn over brain stereotypical argument from the 1970s, added to the fact that I have never seen a brown face representing the Football Association. It is a complete farce to argue anything but institutional racism from the boardroom to the pitch. The Rooney Rule works in the United States but you don't like it, so let's change nothing and hope it gets better. Footy-Dad 1, United Kingdom. Actually, I advocated a Rooney Rule for football club executives many years ago. I think I first wrote about the Rooney Rule on September 12, 2011, and soon after that said that institutional change would only occur when black men were conducting the interviews, not just sitting for them. In the follow-up piece I said I'd have a black guy appointed to a non-executive position on every board to be part of the appointment process, and my view has never shifted. I've long made my reservations about the Rooney Rule for managers clear. It can work in the NFL because there are no consequences for failure. Here, coaches are sacked mid-season when teams may be playing twice each week. Candidates are picked quickly, appointments made the same way. The Rooney Rule would work in the close season, but not under the time pressure of a managerial change in, say, December. A black man with input into the process, however, might throw up a different first choice. You imply I'm conservative, but I'd say my way is far more radical than the managerial Rooney Rule because, providing the black voice on the board is included in discussions, it addresses the seat of power. Martin, you say you can name a number of black managers who have done decent jobs, and then name the only other one in the league. Beg for the bagel, Scotland. There isn't one. He is mixed race. Black was left, Snowy, United Kingdom. I used Crossie as an example. I could have used others. Chris Powell, now with Southend, always seems to do a solid job, as did Keith Corral at Carlisle. As for that second point, I'm not about to lecture black folk on who is black. I'll leave it to the Jungle Brothers to expose that nonsense. Point 2, the fix is in, sort of. If they can arrange fixtures for the top teams, why can't they stop the ridiculous situation of fans having to travel stupid miles on Boxing Day? David 1020, Bedford. But they do. They probably don't put the most local derbies on December 26th, because the ground will be full no matter the opponents, so why waste a bumper day on a fixture that can be a sellout later in the season? It's a business, after all. But looking at Boxing Day 2017, I don't see any ludicrous journeys. Swansea had to travel to Liverpool, but Swansea are out on a limb. At least they kept them west. Manchester City went to Newcastle on December 27th, but, hey, somebody has to. None of it seemed unreasonable to me, and I went to West Ham's match at Bournemouth as a spectator, before you ask, as did 6 other members of my family. It's fixing. Idiot. This article just showed the bias towards the top 6 that exists with journalists, referees, and the FA. Joke. Newcastle haven't been given a penalty all season. WTF. Bobby Charlton, Newcastle. WTF. As in WTF has that to do with the subject? Nothing. But conflate away if that hones your misplaced yet well-developed sense of injustice. Just do not presume you are alone in the silly belief the world has it in for your team. Listen to this next guy. and they arranged for Chelsea to play Manchester City and Manchester United in between must-win Champions League knockout games. Ludo, London. When? This season, the Manchester fixtures came between the two legs against Barcelona, but not directly before. Chelsea played Barcelona at home on Tuesday, February 20th, Manchester United away the following Sunday, Manchester City away a full 7 days after that, and then Crystal Palace on March 10th before playing the second leg in Nou Camp on March 14th. So there were 10 days between the City fixture and Barcelona, and close to 3 weeks since Chelsea played United. How much time off should the mighty Chelsea be given before a big game then? Weren't you supposed to be a big club? Liverpool played Chelsea after a very important, intense, energy-sapping Champions League game at Roma. Imagine if they played them on the final day instead after 7 days rest. Roscoe, Sydney. Here's a way of making it less intense and energy-sapping. Don't let in 6 goals. Rather than requiring the fixture list to be rearranged to suit your purposes and unbecoming sense of entitlement, try defending. Jurgen Klopp's Liverpool let in 4 goals at Roma as they reached the Champions League final. We all knew the fixtures were planned, but I can never work out why they choose to hinder our teams in Europe by putting matches between the Big Six in the same week as European matches. MRNONPC, Cambron. It's all there in the broadcast document, because if you want a television deal measured in billions, you've got to ensure the bulk of the fixture program contains at least one matchup between major clubs, every weekend. There is an alternative, but I get the feeling the big clubs won't like that, either. We are Wolves. We don't play Mondays. We don't play Thursdays. We don't play Fridays. Thank you. WOLFRK, China. What do you care? All you do is walk across the room and turn the television on. Just set your alarm. Liverpool had to play 4 early fixtures after the international breaks. They were the only team in the top 6 to have played in these early games with very little preparation. Now try telling me that was the supercomputer's work. If this is not clear fixing of Liverpool by the FA, what is? And what about last season's fix of Liverpool's start to the season, playing all top 4 rivals in the first 10 matches of the season? Yes, there is a need to arrange certain games for commercial reasons, but why is it that Liverpool are the victims most of the time? Sacid Heron, Singapore. Because everyone hates your club, mate. That's what you want to hear, isn't it? We all hate Liverpool. Just like everyone hates Newcastle and Chelsea and Manchester United and insert names of other 16 clubs here. Yes, Liverpool got a bad break after the international matches, and were given the early Saturday kickoff 3 out of 4 times, not 4, as you claim, because in November it was Arsenal versus Tottenham. But it's the FA that decide this, is it? Not the random factor of the television companies. Is that how you think English football works? The FA arrange all the games? Do some research. It's not even their league anymore. Here's how I see it. If you look at the games immediately after the international break, there is invariably a humdinger that is placed there to ensure the Premier League grabs the news agenda back from the international game. Often, as the preceding England game has been a friendly, or a mismatch, it also serves to make the Premier League considerably more appealing by comparison. So, after England played Slovakia on September 4th, first game up was Manchester City versus Liverpool. After England played in Lithuania on October 8th, everyone began anticipating Liverpool versus Manchester United. So it swings and roundabouts. You won't ever have to play Manchester United on the last day of the season in some potentially ruinous big showdown, but you may have to face them with less preparation time after an international break. Unless you don't want the money. But I'd check with your owners first. They seem rather keen on it. Martin, stop trying to justify it. If the top 6 matches are planned, maybe so are the other fixtures. Now that's a proper outrage. All the examples you mentioned, Leicester winning the league and Sergio Aguero scoring in the last minute, are great examples of scripts we've seen in the past few years. I know you know what I'm talking about. Well, United Kingdom. No, I really don't. I think you sound barmy, to be frank. Aguero's goal, scripted. Leicester's title victory, scripted. So Sir Alex Ferguson must have been in on Manchester City's first title win of the Premier League era, and every elite club was persuaded to take a dive for Leicester? I'd say that's ridiculous, but it goes way beyond that. We should give out tinfoil hats with this column, really we should. Tell that to the minnows like Huddersfield, who had 3 top 6 opponents in a row for the final games. It stinks. Preferential run-ins for the big clubs. David 11 Jarm. Surely that's the best time to play the big teams? They have to face them anyway, but in the final games most have nothing left to play for. In fact, 4 of the big 6 had nothing left to gain in the final match. Manchester City had already won the league when they played Huddersfield, Chelsea needed points but Arsenal also had nothing on it too. Mr. Burns, United Kingdom. Exactly. Plus, it also gave Huddersfield the opportunity to pick up early points against lesser teams and establish a stronger position. I was against the 39th game because I thought the spare match gave an unfair advantage. Someone would get Manchester City, someone else would get Bournemouth, but as long as all 20 teams meet, home and away, across the same time period, I'm not greatly fussed about the order. Point 3, and now the much-anticipated P******ing contest between followers of Liverpool, Manchester City, Manchester United and, Aston Villa and Birmingham. Manchester City were excellent in parts this season, but you can't compare them with a team that went unbeaten. The fact that the City side were so good and still lost twice shows you what an achievement the unbeaten season was, and City lost at home to their rivals. TGB, London. Actually, you can compare them. You can very easily compare them because both played 38 games. So that's, games won, Manchester City 32, Arsenal 26, goals scored, Manchester City 106, Arsenal 73, goal difference, Manchester City 79, Arsenal 47, points, Manchester City 100, Arsenal 90. City let one more goal in and lost twice. Against that, City drew 4 matches to Arsenal's 12. Now, I'm not diminishing Arsenal's achievement. The reason I put the invincible season alongside Manchester United's treble winners and Manchester City's 100 points is because I think each is special, in different ways. To say you can't compare is wrong. You can, and I think anyone with an open mind can process the evidence, too. You can certainly compare Man City's record breakers, above, to Arsenal's invincible think it might be the first time in football history that coming second is a poisoned chalice. People forget that United have risen from 6th last year, so, excluding Manchester City, the 4 teams above Manchester United should really be thinking about what happened. Yes, we spent a lot of money, and that got us from 6th to 2nd, but City's money got them to 1st. What has everyone else's money got them? Lewis, Manchester. Well, Liverpool's has got them to the Champions League final, which United fans would kill for, and Tottenham's has got them Champions League football at their new stadium next season. Chelsea will be disappointed and Arsenal, too, which is why both clubs will be changing manager this summer, but I don't think it's the time to be smug from United's point of view. The reason coming second is a poisoned chalice is that the club were anticipating first after such an impressive start and have ended up 19 points off the pace. It's the most second in English football history. When Manchester City win 4 titles in 6 seasons, losing out on the other 2 by a point in goal difference, and get to 3 Champions League finals in the same period, winning 1 and losing 2 to arguably the greatest club side of all time, Barcelona, then we can talk about City being the best Premier League side. Until then they are a rich man's Leicester. Absolute muppet, Dublin. Until City win back-to-back Premier League titles and win the Champions League, they are simply another Leeds United. Dib J, Manchester. You say City won't be a great team until they win back-to-back titles. Then, if they do, you will say they won't be a great team until they win back-to-back Champions League titles, then it will be back-to-back having played all your matches away, then it will be they won't be a great team unless they play with 5 men and a dog in goal. Why not just stop whinging and be man enough to admit Manchester City played well this season? The Hill, Manchester. They're just another Leeds, they're just another Leicester, it really is so much sour grapes. If your club allegiance blinds you to what is special about this season, and these champions, you have missed an extraordinary achievement in an extraordinary team. In 1930-31, Aston Villa averaged 3.047 goals per game by scoring 128 times in a 42-match season. Before the advent of the Premier League with its gross inequality of wealth and the concentration of the best players in a few teams, the Football League was far less predictable and more closely fought. I expect Manchester City to win the Premier League next season by a comfortable margin, but if you wish to call them a great team they need to win the Champions League. City's oil wealth made their domination of the Premier League inevitable, the only surprise is that it has taken them this long. Datunga, United Kingdom. More twaddle. Villa's 128 goals did not even win the league that season. Arsenal, the champions, scored 127. These were entirely different times. Middlesbrough scored 98 goals and came 7th. Leicester scored 80 goals and came 16th. Blackpool conceded 125 goals and didn't go down. There were 3 teams that cracked the 100-goal barrier in Division 1. Everton scored 121 goals to win Division 2, Chesterfield and Lincoln scored 102 goals in Division 3 North, and Crystal Palace amassed 107 in Division 3 South. Lincoln and Palace didn't even come up. And while the names in the top 4 were more fluid in the old days, Liverpool still won the league 10 out of 15 seasons between 1976 and 1990. Indeed, now the title has changed hands in 9 consecutive seasons. We are back to how it was in the years immediately before the Premier League was formed. Far from City's success being guaranteed, the title race is as vibrant as it has been since the years 1984 to 1993, the last time it went 9 seasons without